Okay, so I'll restart. I am Rubika Sri, a class 11 student from Tagore International School, New Delhi, and I was mentored by Dimple Ma'am. This is Leo Bakelin. He holds in his hands the boon of the past and curse of the present. He holds in his hands the first ever plastic, and he wanted his invention to be vastly useful in that it should be everywhere. Good for him, it is everywhere. From the landfills to the oceans, to the animals, and even our guts. It's everywhere. There are about 8.3 billion tons of it that we have produced since 1950, and that is equivalent to the weight of about 1 billion elephants. It has affected about 700 species, and that is all because it persists. It lives for about 1,000 years, and that is because it's non-biodegradable. And all of the answers lie in its molecular structure. It's only made up of carbons and atoms, which make it very hydrophobic. And also, the carbon-to-carbon bond in the molecule is thermally stable. But why couldn't we do anything about it? It's been about 70 years that we have identified plastics to be very harmful to nature. But why haven't we done much about it? And that is because, oops, what happened? Just hold on. And that is because there are so many types of it, precisely about 7 types of it. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been tons of research done on it, but on individual plastic, and each of them are significantly different from one another. There hasn't been much implementable that has been found, and also recycling isn't a good option because let's consider one product, which is a bottle, and it contains about 3 different types of plastic, and recycling that wouldn't be a good idea because the output product will not be of high quality, which is why recycling is clearly not an option. Now, instead of that, there are other approaches, and we can broadly classify them in 3 different ways. That's physical, chemical, and biological approaches. We personally went for isolation of microbes. So our question revolved around our research question was how can we study and isolate microbes that needed low density polyethylene. Now, low density polyethylene is the plastic you would find in products like milk packets. So the rationale behind this was that microbes produce enzymes that can break down the plastic chain and thus degrade it. So we went to the Okhla landfill site, which had soil about 13 years old, and we collected soil samples from there, and inoculated and diluted them in water, and inoculated that in just a minute. And inoculated that on agar plates. We used Bushnell-Hass agar. It's not visible, is it?
Rubika, we're not able, it's not moving. Just talk, it's fine. If you can figure it out, otherwise we'll lose a lot of time.
It's actually hanging a lot. So we inoculated
it's
that
moving
on,
now.
Yeah. We inoculated that on Bushnell-Hass agar. It's a nutrient-rich medium on which microbes can grow. Now we chose Bushnell-Hass agar because it has all the nutrients required for the microbes to survive, except for carbon. So that way we can filter out microbes that can live off of plastic as its only carbon source. Since plastic is made up of carbon, this way we can detect which microbe can eat carbon off the plastic. So this is how the plates looked before inoculation. And this is how it looked post-inoculation. Can you see that? Post-inoculation of 7 days at 37 degrees Celsius, we found out that both microbes, both bacteria and fungi were growing on the plates. So we observed on how much plastic was degraded. So the total weight of the plastic we had taken was about 0.1 grams. And the brown part of this represents plastic which has been degraded by the microbes. So the maximum degradation was about 0.074 grams. So we had learned a lot. Post all the observations, we wanted to find what all microbes were in play behind. So we extracted the DNA, amplified it, and then sequenced it to find these 3 microbes, which were Streptomyces, Cavillera vericulosa, and Candida albicans. So we had learned a lot along the way. The first one being reaching out. So this was a huge struggle personally. I spent about 4 months trying to reach out to professors by proper emails without embarrassing myself with words I wouldn't know the meaning to. And working in the laboratory was another big part of it. It was the most exciting part, in fact. It was scary at first. I mean, an overly optimistic team fiddling around with chemicals. But I'm so grateful I have a bunch of postdocs in the laboratory who helped me figure out how not to destroy the lab. Post-experimentation, reality stuck. We went back to the observation chart and, is it visible? We went back to the observations chart and we found out that the maximum and minimum degradation, which was 0.074 grams and 0.023 grams, which had a huge difference in between them. Now that's not a good news. That basically says that my results were vastly inaccurate. Now that's a big hit, but you could call this a colossal failure, but the best thing in science one can do is fail. And after that, I noted every mistake that I made and made sure this does not repeat. And I learned a lot from that. So this is not where we end, but this is where we start. In these months of quarantine, I'm writing a whole new research proposal, which I can go back to the lab and test. And also, I've started to intern in this plastic manufacturing company, which is looking to set up a plastic upcycling unit. And I'm excited to make my contribution in there. I'd like to close this with a huge thanks to everyone who made this possible, including the professors at the laboratory and a bunch of scientists from CSIR lab, and especially Purvi ma'am and Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you, and it's open for questions.
Thank you, Rubika. Panelists, I just request all of you to, can you stay till 12:15, because as we know, we have only 3 presentations left. So just we will quickly try to wind up. But as everybody has taken so much effort and then they want to present, so we don't want to give them less time or like that. So just request you to be there till 12:15 and we will try to wind up as early as we can. So now,
no issue. Please take your time and let's not hurry up the presenters.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So can you ask question? You can unmute Rajan bhai if you want.
I had a question for the team. Why did you choose the research question that you chose?
Okay, so plastic is a big problem and we had to tackle it some or the other way. So when we went
out... If you don't mind just putting up your research question on the screen while you're answering that so that everyone's...
I have to go back. Why isn't this going there? Yeah, this was the one. Oh. Yeah. So the reason behind asking this question was there were a lot of approaches to it. Mostly we found thermal processing and chemical processing, which were expensive. So we wanted to settle for something that's economically feasible and easy for us teenagers to do something right now, which is why we wanted to go for isolation of microbes.
To do what?
To isolate them and study how, to what extent are they able to degrade plastic, and especially low density polyethylene.
I want to ask you, because it looks like such a simple solution to degrading the low quality plastics. How come it is not being studied, or what is it that, what is your preliminary analysis of existing data show? Has it been done earlier, or are you the only ones doing it? And if it is already done, why is it not being scaled up? When you do your preliminary research study, research background research. So have you found what are the studies that are done, and what has been the impact, and what are the issues in terms of upscaling it, or using it on a large scale? Because I feel anybody, given the concern for coating the earth with so much of plastic, I'm sure there would be so many takers to try something like this. What is the current research status, and what is happening in this? Because that's very important when you start doing research, because you don't want to waste your time doing something which is already done, right?
There has been, yes, a lot of research is done on it, and there have been microbes isolated much before I did. But the point here is that every time someone isolates something, it is not given that the same microbes are being isolated again and again. Since there's a huge variety of microbes present, we won't probably end up isolating the same microbes, which is why I went further, even if this idea was already done. And specifically, LDPE wasn't that researched as much as polyethylene terephthalate, PET, or polyethylene.
Okay.
Any other question? Okay, audience, you want to ask any question? Audience, since you have not asked any question, anybody from the audience, teachers or principal or student?
If I may?
Yes.
I have posted my question in the chat as well. I just wanted to know the time duration for which you found out reduction in plastics. And secondly, since most of the microbes that you have mentioned are already present in the atmosphere, do you feel that they are already degrading the existing plastic stores that we have?
It wasn't audible, I'm so sorry. Could you be a little loud, because I couldn't hear it?
Can you repeat your question?
Sure. So my question is a two-pronged question. The first part of it is, how much time did you take to find out that a specific amount of degradation of plastic was seen, done by the microbes? And secondly, since most of the microbes that you have mentioned are readily present in the atmosphere, do you think that they are already started degrading this, the plastic which is already existing in large amount? And if so, then why is the reduction in plastic levels not already seen?
Okay, good question. So the first question, it took about 6 weeks till we reached this conclusion, this observation of how much plastic was degraded. And for the second question, if these are already present in the atmosphere, why hasn't this degraded plastic? Because these microbes have substitute carbon source. It basically requires carbon source to survive, right? So our aim was to divert any conventional carbon source to plastic. But when in a natural environment, it has multiple sources of carbon, and it wouldn't really want to eat a plastic's carbon source, which is why it doesn't degrade plastic in a natural setting. As all the
If you're asking something very, maybe it may look very simplistic, but are you suggesting that then we have to segregate the plastic and have a different kind of a setup to segregate, disintegrate the plastic? So that means it requires a different environment in which the plastic should be used or placed to get disintegrated early. Is that what you're saying?
If we're able to isolate these microbes and study them in much more depth, we'll be able to study what the mechanism is behind degrading this. So we don't necessarily have to have the microbe eat it, but something similar to that, the same reaction or something. So that's what I'm researching on in further.
All the best. We need it very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And it's not there that in research always you will be successful. So here Rubika failed, but she's have another opportunity to research again, and maybe someday she will find solution. And that's what we want to inculcate in student, that at young age when you start this, One day you will be successful. Thanks, Rubika.